Yeah, walk me through the performance that we've seen YTD in some of these key markets like Saudi Arabia and, of course, in the UAE. What is your asset allocation strategy right now in this part of the world?
Good morning, Dan. It's good to be with you. So, very interesting question. Emerging markets generally have taken a step back as China put pressure on the entire ecosystem, if I may say, and the US was racing forward. Within EM, of course, the GCC has been one of the best performers economically. Within the GCC, Saudi Arabia and the UAE have been stellar performers. I like to call this the economic miracle of the UAE. So the performance this year in terms of stock markets has been comforting, right? We are mid-single digit up. And if we focus on Saudi and the UAE, well, there is a bit of a divergence from a fundamental perspective in that the earnings in the UAE have been very, very strong, continue to be strong, and lead even those of Saudi. So in a nutshell, good growth, very supportive earnings, and the markets have been, slightly up, but not as much as their fundamental value would suggest, in our opinion.
Okay, so there's a valuation opportunity perhaps in some markets around the region. What are the sectors or industries that you like the most at the moment, Amer?
So if we look first at geographies, then as I mentioned, the UAE is one of our favorite, even ahead of Saudi. Within the UAE, of course, DFM is looking like an absolute value play. It's trading at high single-digit PEs for earnings growth, which is double-digit, and that's a fantastic combination. In terms of sectors, financials, logistics, energy and utilities, looking forward, seem quite compelling. If you look back at what happened in the recent past with the earnings publications of the last quarter, then we find that financials have performed extremely well, and they should continue to do so, in our opinion.
I mentioned earlier that we're counting down to the release of new economic data in the United States, including retail sales and the PPI. To what extent does the higher for longer rates narrative in the US impact the direction of travel for regional equity markets in the Middle East?
So that's an interesting question. We are a dollar economy. Anything that impacts the dollar is directly going to impact us. And of course, with the dollar come a bunch of commodities, one in particular being oil, is critical to what the fundamental economics or underlying economics of the region will do. So as long as oil remains supportive and dollar doesn't go through the roof, I think we're in a good place. But of course, we watch the macro indicators and the interest rate direction and narrative for indications of trends, including in our markets.
Indeed. And geopolitics, interest rates, the oil price environment also key to watch here. Amer, is there anything else on your horizon in terms of risks that investors need to be considering if allocating to this part of the world?
Yeah, so you've summed them up quite nicely. I think geopolitics is the big wild card. So far, the conflict here in the region has been mostly brushed off. So we had a bit of a dip in October, and then everything rallied back up, including our markets here. But let's see what geopolitics have in store for us, and of course that could tilt the narrative. So we're watching that quite closely. And as I said, interest rates are the second factor, which is keeping us awake at night. But so far so good. 2024 looks like it's going to be a year which is economically blessed for the UAE and wider GCC, and we hope this will continue.